in raising our awareness when we're working with horses, there's multiple things going on. And I'm just going to use a different example that probably more people are going to have exposure to. For those of you who drive, if you can remember back to the very beginning of learning to drive, maybe your learner's permit or maybe that first year of driving, most folks are like gripping the steering wheel. They are full on holding on with tension on the steering wheel, and they are sitting upright and they are looking out the window and they are trying to decide if they have time or what they should do. And it like is fully consuming, and it feels like the car is coming past, especially if we have to like pull out and make a turn onto oncoming traffic. Feels like the cars are coming super fast. Feels like we have to decide, should we go, should we not go? There's a little bit of that self-doubt. I find for a lot of folks with horses, they're kind of operating like that in the beginning. So not that they're trying to, but it sort of is that same urgency of, wow, things are happening and they're happening really quickly. Now, if you fast forward to maybe a couple years into your driving experience, maybe you're not quite gripping the wheel so much and you kind of have lost, softened your hands a little bit, but you're still pretty focused and, you can have a conversation, but you're still really watching the road. Fast forward 10 to 20 years of driving, and you can be eating, you can be changing the radio, you can be talking to whoever's in your ear, you can be yelling at your kids in the back seat, you can be doing all these different things and see that you have plenty of time to make a decision to pull out and change lane. So your perception of what is happening has changed because of your exposure. So this is the same thing that happens with horses. And I think sometimes in the beginning, people can get very overwhelmed because it feels like it's happening so fast. And again, with horses, there is a learning curve of exposure in the sense of having the time spent around horses. You can watch videos all that you want, but it's very different when you're right there in person. And so in talking about our awareness of the horse that we're leading or that we're bringing in or whatever it is that we're doing with them, one of the things you want to start to notice is how often in your peripheral, just like if you were driving, you're not staring at your side mirrors, you're just kind of glancing, but you still can have attention and awareness as to what's happening in front of you. How often in your peripheral can you notice? Just start with the horse's head. Now this brings us back to, but where is the horse's head? A lot, there's again, remember with all this horse stuff, if you ask 10 different trainers, you're going to get 11 different answers, okay? So you have to take what works for you and leave what doesn't. My rule of thumb is when we're leading the horse, if you were to make a line from the toe of your boot straight across in front of your horse, I want the horse's nose in line with that. So the horse's head is by my shoulder. He's not out ahead of me where I could be water skiing and at his mercy, and he's certainly not tucked behind me staring at my shoulder blades, which is where most horses learn to lead, okay? When the horse is behind you, you don't have a clue as to what's going on, and if they do have a problem, you are right in the zone of getting run over if you are in the way. Not that they feel aggressive towards you, but if they are panicked enough and you're standing in front of them, they will take you out. Okay, so I have the horse next to me. Part of why is because in order to influence the horse's thought, he needs to be able to see where he's going, which means if he's staring at my shoulder blades, there's no thinking ahead of us. There's no seeing of the world. There's no awareness. He's just sort of blindly following along, kind of like the dude ranch horse, where the dude ranch is like when you rent the horse and there's one horse in front of another. It's like a single file. There's no thinking. There's no change. There's no adaptability. They just like follow each other down the trail, giving no response. Okay, we don't want a horse like that. So when we have our horse next to us, and in this case, if we're leading, we have the lead rope in our hand. Our lead rope, think of it as a string to the horse's brain. So it's telling the horse what the plan is. Again, this is coming back to your tools as far as saying, do you communicate with the horse? I can't tell you how many people pick up the lead rope, grip it, and just drag the horse down the road. There's no thinking as to how they're holding the lead rope as far as how much energy. There's no thinking as to if they're grabbing with tension in their hand, or there's adaptability. I call it piano fingers, where you can increase. Next time you have a lead rope in your hand, practice. What does it feel like if you just hold your thumb and your index finger? And most people will be like, what are you talking about? Nobody ever gives the horse any sort of softness. Most of the time when I say, you be the horse, I'll be the human, and there's a lead rope between us, people are grabbing all the time, even if they're not feeling scary or aggressive or otherwise. They're just in the state of constant tension because that's what they've learned to expect. So let's resensitize us. Let's start to become adaptable in what we're communicating. So hold a lead rope and start to notice. Even if you're not attached to the horse, just watch the lead rope hanging down. If you increase your energy between your index, your middle, your fourth finger, your pinky, you can cause all kinds of energy to come down that lead rope. That lead rope is attached to a halter touching the most sensitive part of the horse's body, its head. So it can absolutely feel every single thing that you're doing. So this is going back to saying, okay, so if I'm using a lead rope and I want to be able to influence this horse's thought, I need to be able to get him to literally look at where we're about to go, before I ask him to walk. And so with that lead rope, think of it as your blinker and your steering wheel in the car. So if you're about to make a turn, hopefully, you give warning to those around you, you put on your blinker. Then you turn the wheel, which means you line up the tires before you add the accelerator or the gas pedal to actually move in that direction. Same thing with our horse. We literally need to give blinker, meaning can our horse look literally with his eyeballs, not just turning his head, but actually seeing what we're asking. Is his ear closest to that direction, turning towards it? And then can I use my hand in a different manner between asking him to look to when I'm using energy to draw him forward? So he's not following my walking, he's following the feel of the energy I'm using on the lead rope. Why does this matter? Because it's your rein. So it's preparing for your ride. If we don't have these basics of being able to have a mentally directable horse and then ask for movement, we're just totally at the mercy of however the horse decides to move. So one of the things in learning how to be aware and in your peripheral is that you need your horse here so that in your peripheral you can check in. Okay, I asked my horse to look towards whatever, pick an object, be specific. Don't just say over there. That gives no support to the horse. The tree, the walk, the rock, the fence post, whatever it is. I've asked my horse to look, we're pausing. So it's not just pick up the lead rope, the horse automatically walks and plows through you, which is what most horses do because there's been no education as far as what the lead rope means to them. Can I have my horse look? And from the time I'm asking my horse to look and he's actually seeing whatever the object is, and I ask him to actually move forward, is he still looking? I can't tell you how many horses will look, and then the minute they go to move forward, they go back to staring at the human. Do they have any clue where they're going if they're staring at the human? No. Not at all, which is then where it feels like they're surprised by whatever is happening in the world around them when something new or different shows up. So the more that you're able in your peripheral to be able to check in, okay, I've asked him to look, he's still looking, now we're walking, his head's still in that direction. Okay, now I can sense his energy. I've used, and again, sliding scale of energy in your hand from 1 to 10. Think of like if you were creeping into a halt, that'd be an energy 1. If you were at an energy 9, you'd almost be trotting with the horse in hand. We want to have adaptable energy. Why would that matter on the ground? Well, when we ride, don't you want to have a horse who can be adaptable in his energy? Why not start the conversation on the ground? And if you find out on the ground that your horse only has, we'll say, energy 1 through 5, and then he gets stuck and he's tight and he's braced and he's heavy and he's dragging on you, what does that tell you about how available he'll be for the upcoming ride? You don't have options. He's already showing you the hole in his education that needs to be addressed before you ever get in the saddle.